Welcome to Pivot or Die, where we discuss brand pivots and blunders and what we would do to pivot them out of it. I'm Rebecca, and today I'm with my guest, Lucy, the lovely Lucy, and she is the founder of My Right Hand Woman, as well as the host of Unicorn Messaging, which is a great podcast to check out. I'll put all the links down there, but great to have you, Lucy.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here.
You brought this crazy benefit blunder to my attention, and I was like, I have to have you on the podcast because this is crazy.
But this one's an old one. It's actually, I want to say, from 2017.
No way.
And they had a campaign called Skip. It was Skip Class, Not Concealer.
Yep.
And the uproar on that campaign was something else. And I think as like a word person, I'm always thinking to myself, okay, how can we use words to better capture our story? And like the only logical story that comes from that is like, hey, if you're not hot, don't go to school.
Yeah. You can't learn unless you have concealer on. It's so bad. Yes, Lucy is a copywriting expert. That's why we have her on. I didn't mention that, but yes. So these every word matters. And how do you think that they just totally overshot this, or like didn't have any oversight, for this?
I don't know. I mean, like sometimes I genuinely wonder when people are in that room of like trying to figure out what they're going to publish or what they're going to post or how they're going to rebrand. I'm like, did someone like think about this? Like, was there maybe like any intern in there that was like, hey, maybe we shouldn't tell women that they shouldn't bother with education if they don't have perfect makeup.
Yeah.
And, so I think sometimes when everyone thinks something's a good idea, and this is why I'm always a big believer in people bringing an outside copywriter in, is you need someone who's just going to be like, I don't work here. I'm not afraid of my job. Let me just like sound the alarm here because, guys, this is really weird.
Do you think there's any way that this could be intentional? Like the Gillette campaign and how it almost felt like it was intentionally being like a bit spicy so that it would cause the whole internet division uproar and boost their algorithm?
Yeah, it's always such a good question. I think like I'm a big fan of a provocative campaign, especially when it's going to just make people talk about you. I mean, look at me. I'm like talking about it. When did this happen? Like 8 years ago? Yeah. So I think provocative is good. I think at the same time, it's fine to be spicy. Like even, with with a lot of the campaigns we see that are a little bit spicy, the main thing is you just don't want to turn off the people who are going to actually buy from you. Mm-hmm. I think that's the biggest thing to keep in mind. If benefit was like, I don't know, I'm trying to think like makeup for cats, like then it would be fine to make a dig at like education. But we already have so many issues in the world about like women not being able to be educated. So it's like, why go for that? Like why take down the people that you're looking to empower with your product?
Yeah. Could it have been just like a joke or something? Or
that's the thing. Yeah. I mean, like even with my clients, we will often make jokes, and it can be really hard to make jokes, especially like in this climate on an ad. Like there's going to always be someone who has something to say about everything. Yeah. And it's really tricky because when it comes to making jokes, if we're on this podcast and one of us makes like a really sarcastic quip, like we can catch it and we can like play with it. But in writing, you don't know what kind of headspace someone is on when they're scrolling Instagram and just see those words on an ad. Yeah. So it's really it's very different. Like things that I would joke about in person, I don't think I would ever touch on like web copy.
Yeah, because it's just so permanent, and you have no control over tone. For sure. Or not none, but like hardly any.
It's hard. The same with like texting. Like if someone sends you like KK with a period, you're like, they hate me and they're going to kill me. And you're just like, well, that's wonderful. Yeah. But if like I was just like, okay, I'll be up in 5, then, you would be like, okay, she'll be up in 5.
Yeah. Or you could interpret, like that KK in 2 completely different ways depending on your mindset. No, that's so true. There's a huge difference between the written word and that interpretation versus having any kind of like vocal clues into like what's the intention behind it. What did they end up doing to get out of that?
Truthfully, I don't know. Yeah. I would be curious. I personally don't use a ton of benefit cosmetics, but they seem to be doing fine in Sephora. Yeah. So clearly they're not like they weren't canceled for it. I think it was more of just like an outrage in terms of a campaign, but that's the thing is, we're always, and I think this is like a good message for people who are running their own businesses, even if the haters come for your throat and you have the worst month of your life, people are goldfish. Like, they're gonna forget.
Yeah,
And unless you
scroll.
yeah, like, unless you do something absolutely heinous, like just creating a campaign that offends a couple of people, you're gonna be fine. So it is this balance of like, do you play it safe and then you risk becoming a vanilla brand, or do you really go for it and then you risk having what I just said, which is the hardest month of your life. And, there's always the chance that if you go too far, people will never buy your product again. But that's the thing. And I think that's why I love your brand and the spice in your brand of pivot or die is like, you're going to have to make a decision. It's just a matter of like, what side of the spectrum are you willing to make a mistake on?
Right, right. And so would you recommend, do you think it ultimately could have helped them then that they got this PR blast and like, maybe, or do you think that they may have just completely alienated quite a bit of their audience?
For this one in particular, I think this one would be more of an alienator than more of I think if you're going to be a bit outrageous, go for things that don't feel personal. So, maybe like weird visuals, for example, if I don't know, like we took a mascara wand and someone was putting on mascara like in the Arctic with like snowflakes on their lashes. Like that's a really good way to like show like we are weird, or if they, I don't know, wanted to put like their illuminating highlighter on like a light bulb or do something surprising and different. I think when you move into the zone where you are attacking the people you want to sell to, those are usually marketing moves that hurt more than help.
And it is attacking women.
It is attacking.
Like it just is, yeah. And it's like, it is playful, but I do think there's so many people, again, like you said, you can't control the headspace they're in. What would you do to help benefit get out of this mess? Like, what would you recommend that they do as like their follow-up campaign to remedy it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think everyone's knee-jerk reaction is just, okay, well, now that you attacked women going to school, now we need to be like really pro women's education. And now we need to like donate money to like women all over the world getting educated. But that stuff can look really performative. I think we saw this with like Victoria's Secret,
100%,
where they had their angels, they did these flashy Victoria's Secret fashion shows, and then it seemed like overnight they were like, we're body positive. We're never going to feature a woman with abs ever again. And you're like, okay, weird.
We're actually the opposite of Victoria's Secret when they are Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean?
So I think like that often looks like an overcorrection.
Yeah.
I think if I mean, I'm a big believer in issuing some sort of apology, but in terms of how the campaign could have been changed, a lot of women put on makeup in like weird spaces, like cars and school and like before a first date, So maybe speaking to the like concealer so easy, you don't like, you can put it on and your teacher won't catch you. You don't have to skip class to put on concealer.
I love that.
Yeah. So like adding a little context, a little gray area can really help a spicy campaign.
I love that idea, kind of switching it to the efficiency of the makeup product and say like, actually don't
skip class. Just like kind of dip your head under your desk and like no one will notice. It's going to be like a 3-second application.
I would love that. Yeah. That's actually really good, and actually would be, it's not necessarily like too apologetic either. Like it's still kind of playful if they did something like that. Because I completely agree. There's something about being overly apologetic and being like, we'll donate money, blah, 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 and how performative that feels for brands. I am 100% on the same page. It's like when somebody, like sometimes it might not be a good idea to apologize in the traditional sense or like to like do something too drastic of a change like that, because yes, it comes across as inauthentic, but doing something kind of like playfully being like, we heard you, this is actually the better campaign or something like that could have been a great idea. Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's so true. It's like, even just fighting sarcasm with sarcasm of be like, guys, go to school. We promise your mascara fits in your backpack, and just creating a counter campaign. And especially if you didn't do anything truly hurtful, you just did something that was a little bit off. I'd like to think people realize that people in marketing are still people and mistakes happen. And when people are trying to be creative, sometimes the creative process goes too far.
Yeah. No, that's true. And it would kind of make you go, okay, like they're human, it wouldn't be too, that's very good. And I want to get into a little bit about you, because I feel like yeah, I mean, we're seeing it now live. All of you guys listening can see it too. I mean, you just are so quick. You're so quick with your words. I can tell that you've been doing this for a while and you're so young. And like, it just seems like you've been always thinking this way and built for this. But you have actually gone through quite a few pivots in your life. Like, how did you make the jump to be like, I'm going to do this at your age even? Like, it's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I thank you for all of that. First of all, I've just always loved words. I mean, I started journaling when I was 6 years old. I was a food writer in college, and I always wanted to be a writer. But at the same time, I had this kind of more logical voice in my head, especially because like both my parents have PhDs, and I was like, well, I can't, like, what am I going to do? Like, be a writer, you know? So,
Right.
and they were always super supportive. But I think I was thinking, okay, well, I need to get some sort of like quote unquote real job, and then I can like pursue my passions on the side. And then I got a real job. I got a remote job in COVID, and I got fired from that job after 90 days.
Oh my God.
And I think it was that moment that I just realized I was so unhappy working for someone else. And every time I got what is it? Performance review. I don't even know the terminology anymore. It's been like 4.5 years.
Progress report.
Yeah,
whatever.
progress report. Like, yeah, a you suck paper. So, and then when I get those, I was just remember thinking to myself, I don't want this life. Like, I don't want someone telling me like I did a good job with the spreadsheet or I spelled like special wrong in the internal Slack communications. Like, stop looking at me.
Yeah.
So I think it was from that I was like, I'm really not meant to work under anyone. And then I decided, you know, I've been a writer my whole life. Like, I'm just going to start copywriting and do 5 free projects and see if I'm any good at this.
Oh, wow.
So
that's so cool.
I
feel like,
started.
I love that. And I think it's so cool, again, at such a young age, for you to understand that, no, I don't like that they're criticizing me. I'm actually very smart. Like, you not letting that get to you is really cool. And then being able to start something and then be like, yeah, I'm just going to like show everyone the value I have that these people don't see. It almost might be a gift that you had such lame bosses, because what if you had ones that were like really nice to you, like, you're great, you probably would have been in there for a long time. And not that that's a bad life path, but I do really, again, feel like you were made to do this. Like, this makes way more sense for you and you're thriving. So no, that's very, very cool. And so have you had any major pivots along the way of building your business where you, did something that you changed?
For sure. Things were going so well in the beginning. I went viral on Reels a couple of times because in 2021 you could go viral just by like eating soup and recording it and then putting a trending audio on it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was so easy. I miss those days every single day. And I was able to get my clients from Instagram and build up that way. The economy was like just killer good. Everyone was going online, you know. So I just feel so fortunate that I was able to grow so quickly. And then I made...
In 2021 though?
Like 2020, 2021, it was a good time to be a copywriter or a coach.
And,
like,
and be online, I guess.
Yeah.
But you're saying how it's like, it was just such a great economy. It was like, no, that's actually one of the most challenging times to ever to start a business. So I just want to acknowledge that. Like, that's crazy that you had such a great start for such a brutal time.
Yeah.
Like, I was going crazy during that time. Like, it was so dramatically changing.
Oh
but
my gosh, yeah. And I don't want to like minimize any struggles.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm just like you really, like, that's so cool that you were able to thrive in that environment too. So just acknowledging that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you should give yourself credit. But anyway.
Yeah.
So I cut you off. But.
No, you're good. It was such a like good time for the online space. And I'm sure anyone who's in the online space is like, yep, there was coaches popping up. It felt like every 2 days, and they're like, I make $250K a month, and you're just like, is this real?
Yeah.
So it was just like a fun time. There was a lot of momentum, and then I think things kind of leveled off a little bit, and I kind of blew up my business a little bit with a limiting belief. And I thought, okay, well, it's time for me to go bigger, and the coaching industry is dying. And if I'm just going to be some like girl on Instagram who writes copy, like, I'm never going to make it. Right. And all these like
pressure to scale.
Yeah. All this like brain chatter like caught up with me. And then all of a sudden I went from being this like very overly confident 21-year-old woman who was like making bank, dancing on reels, to this woman who constantly felt like she wasn't doing enough.
Mm.
And I decided, you know what? I'm going to make myself a legitimate business. I'm going to rebrand. I now have the funds to do so. I'm going to redo my website. I'm going to make it that I'm a studio. I'm going to try and make it so that it's less of me and more conducive to bringing on a small team in the future. And I'm going to write in a way that's a bit more cutting and modern and different. And I'm going to market it to slightly bigger companies and also tech startups.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea. And that's why I tell it like that, because it's like I wasn't just like, oh, let me just throw everything away and like turn my brand purple with crayons. Like, it wasn't like I did something absolutely wild, but I lost all of the personality in that rebrand, in my desire to go bigger in my business. And things fell apart, like truthfully, like quantitatively, in terms of like my analytics were awful. And also just how I felt about my business. I felt like I was in a shirt that was too big, trying to make it work.
And what do you think got in your head to change it? Was it like a person or something that you read or a business book or?
Yeah, I think it was, I had like experienced a pretty intense like career setback that like I'll keep on the down low, but like I did dip my toes into startup world for a little bit. And I think I just let myself get swept up by these like, like cold start problem and, like 0 to 1, like let's scale rapidly, like VC, like this is what they want to see. They want to make sure you can step out of your business. And I
Walk
just
on the business, not in the business.
Exactly. Or like you should be replaceable and like all these
velocity,
things.
scale,
Oh my God,
fast.
hockey stick growth.
Yes, yes.
And then it got to the point where I think that noise just took over, and I realized, I built a business that needs me to function, and I built a business around myself. And for some reason I felt like that was less valid.
Right. And I'm intrigued by this because I did a similar thing. I did have a big team of 11, and then came down to COVID kind of taking that away in a lot of ways. And then now I'm, a smaller team, but I feel like I see with social media and everything, oh my gosh, we are entering a new time in an era where there is kind of like two types of businesses. There's those businesses that are about this face, this person, like, think what you want about them, but Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, like these are faces that are put to companies. And then there is the kind of old school belief of like the business.
Yeah.
And there are businesses that work that way. Like, a plumbing business, you might not, have like hire a certain like celebrity plumber. You're probably just going to call up the plumbing business or whatever. Like there are different businesses that are useful for that. But that's so interesting. I experienced the same thing with this pressure to scale, and that's the whole point. But then it's like, what if you are the thing that is attracting your leads and your audience? And what if you could actually make a lot more money as a smaller startup? There's the other books, like you might want to read Company of One. And that's an example of kind of this line of thinking where it's like, you don't actually have to have bigger, more. And that is a very masculine thought too.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a startup kind of vibe. It's a very masculine kind of energy in startup space. And yeah, I can see how I think that happens to a lot of business owners out there that are just like, I need more, I need to be bigger, or my company sucks. And it's like, no, you might be enough, just yourself and you showing up. And for you, absolutely, it makes sense for you to be more of this like persona and celebrity in a way, right? Or influential person. And then you could hire more of a team to help you with certain pieces of your business, but you may find that you find joy in working in the business too and working on the work, right?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought that up. Like this idea of we're fed, you have to scale, but no one tells us about at what cost. They're just like, well, bigger is like always going to be better. And if you can work a 4-hour work week, like you've made it, and we get this we get all of these messages, but truthfully, if you built a business that you're meant to be in, you won't hate the work. Like, I love writing. That's why I became a copywriter.
Mm-hmm.
And I love my sales calls. I love coming up with new offers. I love expanding. I mean, I love a good high income year like any business owner, but I don't see work as this thing that I have to minimize because I love my job.
Yeah, I keep saying it, but I'm very impressed that you were able to do all of this like at such a young age and recognize all of these opportunities and like even just being able to self-assess these limiting beliefs in yourself is it's so awesome. You definitely have a gift. I want to leave the audience with some insights into what's happening right now in the copywriting world. Like, are there any trends that you're seeing that people need to keep in mind?
Yeah, we're noticing the traditional sales page is actually, in my opinion, dying down. You may have seen these long sales pages anytime you wanted to buy something a couple of years ago. And now I just feel like people want an experience, people want a theme, people want a vibe. So whenever someone's bringing a product or a service to market, I'm always pushing them in that direction of, can we move past just like the, hey, I see your pain points right now. You're overwhelmed, stuck, and life sucks. And we created this product that takes you to like heaven. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And it's really weird and creepy. And we're just like, why are they talking to us like we're in an infomercial?
Right.
So
very infomercial.
very infomercial.
You do see that everywhere.
Yeah. So I think that is dying down. There is one school of thought that says like no more sales copy, just give people a checkout link. But I don't believe that either. I think you need to create an experience that people want to become a part of.
What does that look like?
For me, it's specificity. I'm always telling my clients, like, the reason these sales pages feel so infomercial is because they're so general. It's like, do you hate your life? And it's like, well, I don't know if you really want clients who hate their life.
Yeah,
but
yeah, true. That's also something people need to keep in mind.
Yeah, I'm like, do you really want those people? But when I'm talking to them, I'm thinking, can you paint like a sensory picture of how I'm going to feel when I work with you, or how I'm going to feel when I bite into your farmer apple? It doesn't really matter what you're selling, but how can you create an experience that people want to be a part of, that it's memorable, that it's a little bit sticky. If they're your ideal client, then it's good sticky. They remember you. If it's your non-ideal client, then they're a little bit scared of you. How can we start to create and take a stand and dismantle things? Because that's going to be what really makes your sales copy stand out.
Have you seen any examples of brands doing that?
Like really good sales copy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Oatly's been doing a really good job.
They're great.
Yeah, just like the irreverence of the like, we don't really care if you buy this. It's really like
yeah.
It's very chill. They show their product in like weird ways. Like they had an ad where they like put their oat milk in like an espresso martini. Like I would never think to put oat milk in an espresso martini. And it was just like a fun way of staging their product
and putting it like into an experience that you could do yourself.
And the funny thing is that ad actually got a little bit of hate.
Really?
The espresso martini. Yeah, the person.
Everybody finds a way to hate everything these days.
The person was like wearing all black and like looked a little bit sketchy and like kind of like put the oat milk in like they were like drugging a drink.
God, really? That's funny.
But then they drank it themselves.
Yeah.
So it's not like they like handed it to like an unsuspecting woman. They like took a sip. But I think like but it's funny like going bringing this episode full circle with like the benefit ad. It's like, yeah, being provocative will almost always get some sort of hate, even if, it's, But I mean, one could argue that was like not cool. So I think it just depends on what side.
Yeah. I wonder that's like always, that's kind of like the struggle of our time when it comes to like marketing and messaging, that balance, right? Because everybody is desperate for an ounce of attention. And it's so hard to get, and it's getting harder and harder and more crowded. And yeah, I don't know if you have any kind of final piece of advice for brands navigating that, where you see that balance, I guess.
Just bring in outside opinions is the best thing I can say. I think, there's always going to be people who are outraged, and ideally we're not outraging our ideal customers. But if you just show an ad to an intern, or you show it to your mom, or you show it to the CFO, be careful who you're taking advice from. I think like bringing in an expert who can like look at the messaging from multiple angles and be like, this is a spot where people could take that poorly, and just approaching things with an empathetic lens, but not being scared. I also think when brands are scared, it shows in their vanilla messaging. And then you're just like, this brand is really boring. Like you take like Ryanair, for example.
Yeah.
I think they do a great job of just being like, we suck and you're going to absolutely hate your flight, but you're still going to book us.
Because we're cheap or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we need more of that like poking fun at yourself, not the people who are buying from you.
Right. That's a great way to wrap it up. I love that. And I'm going to put all of your links below.
Yes,
Thank you so much for joining us. And remember to subscribe, guys. Love to see what you guys think about that campaign too. Nice.
Awesome.
I loved it. I don't know. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, that was so
great.
fun.